Hello, everyone, and welcome to our dual enrollment meeting for the spring semester. This dual enrollment meeting is going to be in regards to requirements for the 22-23 participation. I am Miss Nobles, and I am the dual enrollment coordinator this year. And then we also have Mr. McGuire here, who's here to assist me with this new platform. So if anything goes wrong, just know it was not intentional. So, Mr. McGuire, did you have anything that you wanted to share before we start the meeting today?
I just want to remind everyone of how great an opportunity dual enrollment is and how parents have utilized this opportunity to save tons of money for their student, and how students have used this opportunity to better prepare themselves for those experiences that you can receive on the college campus and receiving from the college instructors. So this is a great opportunity. We look forward to it, providing this for all of our students.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Mr. McGuire, for those words. And we are going to get started. I like to start on time. So hopefully we won't be here too long and y'all will get a lot of valuable information that you need to get started with the dual enrollment process. So I am going to bring up the dual enrollment PowerPoint that I have created. You will also, if you miss anything, you will have an opportunity to go back and watch this over after we complete this meeting. So let's get started. So this, of course, is our first slide, and it does have my information here, Miss Anita Nobles, and then you will have my email address. If after this particular meeting you have additional questions or you want to meet because you feel like you need more hands-on, you can always email me at anita.nobles@sccpss.com. And also at the bottom here, I have also provided our website that is off off of our main website. So this is the link to it, and I'm going to also post this PowerPoint there so that you will have access to it, because it does have links in it, and it'll be a little bit easier for you to maneuver when you can just click on those links. So what is dual enrollment? And you may see DE a lot of time when you're looking at our PowerPoints, because that's our way of shortening the term, the phrase. Dual enrollment is a program that provides funding for high school students to take college classes that will earn them high school credit if successfully completed. It can also count towards college core credit requirements. So it does give a student that opportunity to get that dual credit, and that is what dual enrollment is about. Students may receive dual enrollment funding for eligible core courses in English, math, science, social studies, and world or foreign languages. Also, if you have students that are more interested in courses like welding, cosmetology, those things, it also will cover the career, technical, and agricultural education career pathways. So courses in both the academic and those career, technical, and agricultural pathways are available for our students at those eligible, participating post-secondary institutions. I did want to put in here, and then you'll see it again, that there is a 30-hour semester cap. So do be knowledgeable about that. So a lot of times when I'm speaking with juniors, I would tell them, if you're planning on participating in dual enrollment through your senior year, just be very thoughtful about how you go about scheduling your dual enrollment classes, because you don't want to use up all your hours in your junior year and then you don't have enough hours for your senior year. Any student that is in the 11th or 12th grade is eligible if the student meets the dual enrollment eligibility requirements. So you will find out that the dual enrollment requirements are different for different schools, meaning they may have different GPAs, they may have different test scores, but I believe the four that we primarily work with are very similar in terms of the GPA requirement and the test scores. Test scores are required again, so students are going to have to take the SAT or ACT or an Accuplacer test in order to be admitted to these colleges or institutions. And to further go on about eligibility, successful completion of the 10th grade is required, and students must be at least 16 years of age by September 1 of the year of enrollment for admission. So that means our students are rising juniors. You are gonna have to be at least 16 years of age, even though you've completed 10th grade, if you're planning on enrolling for the fall. So do be thoughtful about that, as we're moving forward with that process or with this process. The dual enrollment program will cover the following expenses: tuition, mandatory fees, textbooks, and however, some courses may have additional fees or course-related fees that are not covered by dual enrollment outside of the mandatory college fees that are covered. So on this slide, you're going to see the dual enrollment schedule option. So I do have a lot of students that wonder, how is my schedule going to look if I decide to participate in dual enrollment? So at that top, you will see a full-time dual enrollment student, and those student schedules typically look like they have at least 4 college courses totaling between 12 to 15 college credit hours. Most classes are taken on the college campus, but do keep in mind they do not have to be in-person classes because a lot of the colleges have the online option. There is no mandate to take courses at Woodville. So we are on a block schedule at Woodville, and that is a 4x4 schedule. So each semester, our students have 4 classes. So if we have a student that is taking full-time dual enrollment courses, and that is they are registered for 4 classes on a college campus, they are not required to have any classes at Woodville. But I do want to make mention that if your student is going to be participating in an online class and they are not scheduled to be on Woodville's campus, then they will have to be picked up during the blocks that they are scheduled for the online class. We don't want the kids just kind of roaming around because that's for safety reasons. So again, if you have a student that registers for a online class, whatever block they register for that online class, they are expected not to be on campus during that time. A student is still officially enrolled in high school and is eligible to participate in clubs, extracurricular activities, sports, and other events. So although they may have all of their classes off campus, they are still a high school student and they are able to participate in all of the things that a regular high school student would be a part of. In the bottom part, you're going to see what a part-time student schedule will look like. And that student would have fewer than 12 college credit hours. They would have a mandatory enrollment of 4 total courses between Woodville and the dual enrollment institution. So for instance, that would look like maybe a math and a history first and second block, and then they may go off to do dual enrollment third and fourth block. So that is what a typical schedule will look like. Or they may have 3 classes at Woodville and 1 dual enrollment class. So dual enrollment courses must coordinate with the students' high school classes. And that means when your students are registering, they have to be mindful of the time it's going to take to get to a class, and to ensure that the days that they register for those classes does not interfere with what the class that they're scheduled to take at Woodville. We don't want any conflict in classes because those Woodville classes will take precedence. So just when you're registering and your students or your children are registering, make sure that they don't do or register for any classes that are going to conflict, because we just don't want those issues to arise and cause problems down the road. And also, it is to allow for safe traveling time between Woodville and the dual enrollment institution. And then students are not permitted to enter and exit high school campus multiple times a day. So when I register your students, they're going to either be taking dual enrollment in the morning, unless they're full time. So they may have a college class first and second block, and then they'll come to us third and fourth, or they may do Woodville classes in the morning, first and second block, and then at the end of second block, they will leave and go to their college campus. So that's going to prevent the back and forth that we're talking about with that particular statement. So on this slide, you're going to find reasons to participate in dual enrollment. And this is very important to ask yourself. Why do I want to participate in dual enrollment? So some of the reasons that we want to share with you today is it introduces college rigor. And of course, when you're applying for colleges and they do ask about, or have you taken those rigorous courses? So it does introduce the college rigor. It provides more course offerings. So a lot of you come to us with a lot of high school credits that you've already successfully completed in middle school. And so by the time you get to be a junior, you may be running out of courses that you're interested in. But when you are a part of dual enrollment, there are a plethora of courses that are available to you. So it does provide those additional course offerings. You can also earn college credit in high school. Again, that is what the dual enrollment program is. You can earn a full high school credit for a 3-hour college course. So those 3-hour college courses, those classes aren't even every day a lot of times. So it is a quick way to earn those college credits and those high school credits and get a full credit towards your transcript. College courses can improve your HOPE GPA. Everybody asks about HOPE GPA because we're here in Georgia and HOPE GPA comes up a lot. It does help your HOPE GPA. However, it helps it if you do well. So do keep in mind that successfully completing these dual enrollment classes is going to aid and benefit you. Now, if you don't do well or you're withdrawing from classes, that type of thing, of course, that's going to hurt your HOPE GPA. So the dual enrollment experience can contribute to your college readiness. Of course, if you're getting that experience and learning how to become more organized and what to expect at the college level, you are going to do better. So when you're looking at dual enrollment, take it seriously because it's going to provide you with a lot of benefits. So on the other side of the screen, you're going to see the benefits of participating. And I probably mentioned some of these already, but the research does show that students who participate in dual enrollment show an increased likelihood of general academic achievement in high school. That means those students normally do very well in those dual enrollment classes because they have the motivation. Their attendance is better. They're more prepared and college ready. They have the wherewithal or the knowledge for college access and enrollment, meaning that when it's time for them to apply, they are already knowledgeable about a lot of the ways to go about applying and going about that process. Credit accumulation, of course, because you're going to receive those high school credits along with the college credit. And then, of course, it's going to help towards your college degree attainment. It's going to put you further ahead when you head off to college. Now, we do want to go over some disadvantages of dual enrollment. Now, the courses are challenging. Of course, they're college courses, and they are taught by college professors who may not know or care that a student is in high school. So sometimes when you're at the high school level, a teacher or someone may know you went off, you had a game that night, and they may be a little bit more flexible with you, not so much with a college professor. So that mindset, trying to get the kids to understand they are looked at as a regular college student. So just keep that in mind. Those professors, they're not going to take a lot of excuses. So, whereas, you may have a flexible teacher that just, may understand what you're, where you came from that night, or what you have on your plate. Those college professors may know and may not care because they got a job to do. So just keep that in mind. Professors will only communicate with the student. So, as you know, how you can come in, request a meeting with your teacher or with Mr. McGuire. Typically, the parent is not going to be able to do that. The student is going to have to initiate, or handle their business with that professor or the dean if they're having an issue themselves. So do keep that in mind. The access that you have with high school teachers and administrators, parents, you are not going to have on the college level, because again, they are looking at your student as a regular college student, because when you sign them up and you agree to them, for them to participate, they feel like you have agreed that your student is mature enough and capable enough to handle anything that arises. Counselors and principals cannot dictate the actions of the institution. So if you're having a problem with the institution, a lot of times you will have to contact the dean or the person who is your dual enrollment coordinator or contact for that particular institution. That is a good contact person for you as well. Most courses are worth a full credit, so grades are counting double. That means if your student gets a 75 um, um, at the college level, then they're going to get, well, it's 5 points added, but they're going to get an 80 on the high school level. So just keep in mind, if they don't do so well, it is going to count double. If they do well, it's going to count double. So we always want to encourage our students to make sure that they're doing their very best in these courses, because they are counting towards your high school as well as your college transcript. So credit transfer is not a guarantee. You must do your research. I do hear this a lot. A lot of students want to know, are these credits going to transfer? And I do have a slide a little bit further down for those students who are going to be participating with Savannah Tech, to kind of go over with you and answer some of those questions. However, if you're going to be attending one of the 4-year institutions, you're going to have to do your homework in terms of finding out from the institution that you want to go to after graduation if all of your credits are going to transfer. And typically, to be honest, your Englishes, your histories, those type of things do transfer. But we do ask you to do your due diligence, and just make sure when you're applying that you're not going to have any issues. And like I said, typically you don't. Competitive colleges may not consider dual enrollment as rigorous as AP courses. And so we offer AP, we offer dual enrollment courses as well. And so colleges look at different things. It's dependent upon the college to determine, what they feel is the most challenging or rigorous courses. So you can make that determination if you want your students to do the AP courses or the dual enrollment courses. I feel like dual enrollment is an awesome opportunity. The colleges do look very favorably upon those dual enrollment courses. So if you decide to do dual enrollment or AP, both of them are going to be very advantageous for you. So eligibility versus readiness. We have a lot of students that are eligible for dual enrollment. And so this is really a serious endeavor when you go into dual enrollment, because your student is receiving that double credit. So even though your student may be eligible and they have the GPA and they have the scores, you have to really ask yourself, do you feel like they're ready? Because it's going to be very important. So you need to ask yourself, are they self-motivated? For instance, a lot of times when you're having issues or your teachers send you back feedback, or you have submitted work and you still haven't received a grade, that student has to be motivated enough to communicate with that professor on their own. So you got to ask yourself, is your student self-motivated? Well, how's their maturity level? Do they take things like this seriously, or do they kind of blow off things? Are they organized? Um, do they take initiative? Those type of things, responsible. Um, and then time management. Of course, when you're dual enrolled, you have to be thoughtful about the time that you're giving to those classes, because you may not necessarily go to your teachers, to that particular class every day. So how are you about managing your time and getting things turned in a timely manner? Deadlines, and are they good about meeting deadlines and avoiding procrastination? So these are all things that you have to begin to ask as you're looking at participating in dual enrollment. It doesn't do you any good to say, well, maybe they're going to get better, because once you start dual enrollment and you're in it, a lot of times it's too late, and then we have students that may not be successful that semester. So just think about that, and keep that in the forefront of your brain as you're thinking about moving forward with dual enrollment. And I did want to put some negative indicators so that you can kind of look through these. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm just going to point out a few. So for instance, if they're disorganized and they're not going to be the type of student that keeps up with deadlines and when assignments are due, when is your test, when are papers due, and they're kind of scattered and everything, that's something to look for. If they're a bit procrastinated, that's going to be a huge thing, because that is going to a lot of times result in a negative grade if they are big procrastinators. If they do not like to read or think through things, we have so much information that goes out, and we hear a lot. I didn't know about it. Because students are not reading through things thoroughly as they should. So they got to be in the habit of reading and knowing how to problem solve. So ask yourself those things. And of course, there's a lot of other negative indicators. So just sit down and have that heart to heart, a real conversation about where your student is, and if you want to move forward at this time, because sometimes students need another year or two to mature or whatever. And so you just gotta have, an honest conversation about where your student is at this point before you begin the dual enrollment process. So now we're getting into the general registration steps. When you first begin dual enrollment, it can seem like a lot, but I promise you, once you get into dual enrollment, it's each semester afterwards is just much easier. But there are some things that you have to do, and that's a process that you have to complete to get started. So I did put a link. It says review the dual enrollment information on our webpage, and that's going to be a link to take you directly to our webpage. So I'm going to send this out to all of our students so that you can access the links and go directly to those sites. And I did want to put in here and reiterate that there was a House bill that passed not too long ago that did establish a 30 credit hour cap for dual enrollment students. And so that is 30 semester hours. And so when you're thinking about dual enrollment credits, typically each class is 3 credit hours. So that's going to equate to about 10 classes. So just keep in mind that it's about 10 classes that you're looking at when you're looking at that 30 credit hour cap. So you're going to meet with your school counselor, either myself or Dr. Miller, to discuss the reality of you participating in dual enrollment. And that means, how are you currently doing? What is your current GPA? and just have real conversations about, are you ready to take that step into dual enrollment? So you'll meet with your school counselor. You're going to create a Georgia Futures account on georgiafutures.org. If you do not have one, many of you should already have an account, because that is where you're monitoring your Hope GPA, or what was something else they were doing on there. But mainly you should have one for the Hope GPA. And then in that next clip here, let's see if I can click here. So I'm just going to click right there and just take you there. So you'll see Georgia Futures pop up on that screen, and that is where you should go if you are if you click on that link. So I also included a link to watch the dual enrollment application process video. Now, the video is not very long, but it does walk you through that process, so that if you have any questions, it should cover any questions that you have. And you also, I did want to add, you must have transportation for those any colleges that are not on the Woodville campus. And so the only college that we currently have on our campus is going to be Point University. So if your student registers for Georgia Southern, Savannah Technical College, or Savannah State University, they are going to be required to have transportation to those particular institutions, or they'll be doing those classes. But anyway, they're going to have transportation to any of those institutions. And so your student is going to be researching and deciding which institution that they're going to apply to. So you want to visit the selected school's webpage to determine your eligibility. And so I did put a link on another slide, so you will have that as well. Then you're going to apply to your institution of choice and complete the entire application process and required entrance testing exam. So you do have to apply to the college that you want to attend. You can't indicate on the registration form that you want to participate in dual enrollment, and that is it. There is an application that is required. You have to complete it and be admitted to the college in order to participate in dual enrollment. And so that also means that you have to take the required entrance testing exam. Most of the colleges are going to require an SAT or ACT or an AccuPlacer exam in order to participate in dual enrollment. And so just make sure that you are following those steps. Those steps are very important to you being accepted to the college. And then you're going to complete the online dual enrollment funding application via Georgia Futures. So if you just do the part where you apply and take the test, but you don't do the funding application, then the state can't pay for your classes. And so you're going to get a bill. So it's going to be important that you complete that dual enrollment funding application via Georgia Futures. So that's where we went through a little bit earlier in the step. You must create a Georgia Futures account if you do not have one, because that is where you're going to complete this application so that the state will cover the cost of your classes. So once you have completed those steps and you're accepted into the institution of your choice, there is a dual enrollment approved course list. And so you can begin to plan what courses are available and what courses, excuse me, you would like to take. So make sure that you consult with your high school counselor. And so that means that you are going through your checklist with your counselor. What do I still need? Hold on. excuse me for just a moment.
And while Ms. Nobles is doing that, I do want to say that it is important that you speak with the counselor, that being Ms. Nobles, because they're going to help to make sure that you are on track and that you're taking the right courses. A lot of times, the courses are are similar as far as the course numbers and everything, and there are certain courses that will meet the requirements of giving you high school credit, it will meet some of your high school graduation requirements, as well as giving you the college credit. So make sure that you are in constant communication with your counselor for that, to make sure that you're taking the right courses. And also, it also is good for you as far as your times are concerned as well, to make sure that you take your classes at the appropriate times, because Ms. Nobles and Dr. Miller will know when those classes are offered on the high school campus against when those classes would be available on the college class campus as well.
All right. Thank you, Mr. McGuire. So, yes, everything that Mr. McGuire said is correct. He's our third counselor. So you can definitely trust in what he says. But again, meet with your counselor and we will help you determine what you still need for graduation and help you decide what courses are going to be good for you to take and take advantage of that dual enrollment option. So then you are going to meet your institution's dual enrollment specialist to sign up for courses. Now, let me say this for Savannah Tech, that won't be necessary. However, with Georgia Southern and Savannah State, you will meet with that coordinator over there to discuss your courses. Savannah Tech, we kind of help you, guide you a little bit more with Savannah Tech. So you may not necessarily have to speak with the coordinator at Savannah Tech. And then Point University is very hands-on. So a lot of times they come to our campus to assist those students. So just keep that in mind. Dual enrollment for Savannah State, Georgia Southern, you will meet with that advisor over there. For Savannah Tech, we more so help guide you with that one. And then Point advisors do come to campus to walk the students through that application process. So then you are just going to be thoughtful, like Mr. McGuire said, about scheduling those dual enrollment classes during mandatory high school time, or class time. So please do not schedule a class and then come and say, well, can I leave early, or can you talk with the teacher because I have a dual enrollment class? Because I won't do that. It's going to be hard for you to get a teacher to approve that when you could have chosen a different time. So just be mindful. Don't put yourself in that position where you have to get a teacher at the high school at Woodville to approve that you leave early. So it's just better to be thoughtful about your classes, what you're taking, before you schedule those classes. And so then you're going to complete the dual enrollment student participation agreement. Now that you don't have to do that with us. That must have been from an old slide. So don't worry about that, completing our dual enrollment student participation agreement with us, with your school counselor. However, your parent is going to have to do their part of the funding application. So when you begin that funding application, it's going to ask you for your parent's email address. Make sure it is the correct email address, because when you complete it and you say hit submit, then it's going to send an email to your parent for your parent to say that they acknowledge or they understand that you're going to be participating in dual enrollment. So make sure that email address is correct. So then once you have registered for courses, you've done all of the things that are necessary to be admitted, and you've received your admission letter. You met with the college if you needed to, and you've gotten your schedule for the semester. then you are going to immediately provide myself and Miss Brooks, our information specialist, with a copy of your schedule. That is going to ensure that your schedule, your college schedule is placed in Power School. And so it's going to reflect in Power School. And you won't have to say, well, I'm still registered for high school classes, because we have your schedule. And as soon as we get it, we can put it in Power School. And then you can see it and know that you are registered and you're ready to go for that semester. Okay, for the course withdrawals and satisfactory academic program progress, and that is called SAP. Um, for course withdrawals and retaking a course, I want y'all to really go through this slide, because even though we have our meetings in regards to dual enrollment, a lot of students will withdraw and drop out of classes, all different kind of things, and not let us know, and then they don't know the consequences of that. And so that's why we make sure to include this information, and that's why it's gonna be important for you, even after this meeting, to go back through this video, just to familiarize yourself with it even more. So a student becomes ineligible to continue receiving dual enrollment program funding after his or her second course withdrawal. So that means if you withdraw from a course and then one semester, maybe summer, and then fall comes around and you say, well, you register for a course and you decide to withdraw from another course, then that second course withdrawal from an approved dual enrollment course is going to result in you not being able to participate in dual enrollment. And so you got to keep that in mind. We typically don't encourage you to withdraw from anything, because of the consequences that can reflect negatively on your transcripts, as well as you may not be able to participate in the dual enrollment program. So just keep that in mind. And I did put that information in there because a lot of students participate or take science classes, and the lab component prerequisite course, when withdrawn in the same term as the lecture classroom course, is considered as a one course withdrawal. So if you drop your biology and the lab that went with it, it's not going to count as two credit. It's only going to count as one withdrawal. So just keep that in mind. And then a student is ineligible to receive dual enrollment funding to repeat or retake a dual enrollment course for which dual enrollment funding was received. So if you take a math, you fail it or withdraw from the course, you cannot retake that course. Dual enrollment would not pay for that course again. So just keep those major things in mind as we're moving forward with dual enrollment.
And
And
Miss
then the
Nobles,
stats, yes,
Miss
sir.
Nobles, I apologize. I just wanted to add one piece too, is that if you withdraw from the class and you don't notify us and make us aware, you run the risk of also earning an F for that course as well. So that does impact your GPA. I just want to reiterate and kind of stamp that point, if you would, in that just because you drop the class and you feel as though there may be no consequences on the college side, there will be consequences on the high school side. If we're not made aware of that and we're not able to implement some things to support you. So if you're dropping the class, please make sure you communicate with your counselors to let them know.
All right, thank you, Ms. McGuire. So the satisfactory academic progress. Many of you may never, may not have heard about satisfactory academic progress. So, for instance, of course, when you're participating in dual enrollment, just as you would, in high school courses, you are expected to be successful in those courses. But dual enrollment has a little more weight, those college classes, because if you do not meet satisfactory academic progress, then you are either going to be put on suspension or probation for that particular institution. So let's say, for instance, you may be attending a college or university that says for that semester, you have to have 65% satisfactory academic progress. Well, if you're taking 2 classes and you fail one, there's no way you can get to 65%. You can only get 50% because you only have 2 classes and you failed one. So those are the things that they refer to when they speak of satisfactory academic progress. You have to be making satisfactory academic progress towards attaining college, a college degree. And that is, they put these things in place to assist students and keep them, on track in terms of what they need to be accomplishing. So do keep that in mind. If you're not completing those courses successfully, you may register, and then I may get an email and say this student is on academic probation or this student is on academic suspension, and you may not be able to participate for that particular semester. So it's very important that you're aware of that as you move forward with dual enrollment. So on this slide here is what I was referring to earlier. If you're going to be taking any classes at Savannah Technical College, I did want to provide you with the USG, which is the University System of Georgia, and the TCSG, which is the Technical College System of Georgia. I wanted to share with you the articulation agreement. And what that means is this is an agreement that they came up with that says these courses on here, on this document, these are the courses that are guaranteed to transfer between the institutions. So if you're planning on taking an English 1101, then you don't have to, like I mentioned earlier, you don't have to worry about that course transferring. If you're taking it at Savannah Tech, it will transfer to the 4-year college that you're thinking about attending. So I did want to provide that to you if you're considering taking courses at Savannah Technical College, because it does also help you decide what courses you may want to take. It'll help you decide those type of things, because a lot of times students say, well, what classes should I take? And this is a good way to kind of tailor and decide what you want to register for in that semester, because these are the courses that are definitely going to transfer with you if you decide to move on to a 4-year college. On this slide, I did want to kind of go through the requirements and deadlines. So you're going to see the institutions listed here. You're going to see Georgia Southern, Point University, Savannah Tech, and Savannah State. So we're going to start with Georgia Southern, and I did put the link so you can go directly to their site. Their GPA requirement is a 3.0 or higher, and their SAT is going to be a 1050. Guys, this, you gotta do pretty good on that SAT. So keep that in mind. A 1050 is going to be required to get into Georgia Southern, with an A or an ACT score, composite score. A composite means the score taken between the reading and the math. And so the composite score has to be at least a 20. And then the AccuPlacer gives you different scores, and so when you access their website, you will see the AccuPlacer information provided. It's a lot of different numbers, so I didn't want to try to put it all on this one page, but when you click on that link, you will see the scores necessary if you decide to take the AccuPlacer for admission versus the regular SAT or ACT. So the registration for summer and fall for Georgia Southern, so summer has already begun. So if you're planning on taking summer courses at Georgia Southern, go ahead and start that process today, because you need to start meeting with Ms. Gibb, or you should need to schedule a meeting with her as soon as possible. But of course, that can't happen until you've been admitted. So do go ahead and complete anything that's necessary, the application, the test, the requesting the transcript. any of those things, you need to go ahead and do those as soon as possible so you can get your letter and go ahead and get the get your advisement scheduled with Ms. Gibbs. For fall registration is going to open on March 21st, 2022. So, however, if we meet and you know what you want to take fall, I would go ahead and write that information down. And so when registration opens, I'll go ahead and submit that information to Georgia Southern. You don't have to come back and give me that information at that time. For Point University, that is on Woodville Tompkins campus. The 3.0 or higher academic GPA is required. Same thing at SAT of 1050. And then for registration, because it is we partner with them, they do come to our campus to work with the students to complete the applications. Now, I did put off campus on here as well. We don't have as many students do off campus with Point, but I do want to let you know if you are considering Point and you don't want to be a part of the cohort that we start in the junior year on campus, you can take classes at Point off campus. So that's just on there for your information as well. Savannah Technical College, they require 2.5 or higher academic GPA. And so for SAT and ACT score, you can find out more about that on their website. However, if you have a HOPE GPA of 2.6 or higher, that is enough, along with your GPA. Your HOPE GPA is enough to get you admitted to Savannah Tech. So if you want to find out more about the SAT and ACT score, you can access the site. I provided the link. But a HOPE GPA of a 2.6 or higher will get you admitted to Savannah Tech. So summer term is now open. So if you want to go ahead and come up and start once you complete the application process and start talking about what courses to take for the summer, we can go ahead and start looking at that very soon. And then fall term registration is going to begin for them March 7th, 2022. And then Savannah State, you'll see that most of them have the same GPA requirement and SAT and ACT score. Savannah State is SAT is also a 1050, and their ACT is also a 20. Summer term is open for them as well, and then fall term is going to open for Savannah State March 29th, 2022. And all of these have links. I did not provide Point's link because, as I said, Point normally comes on campus and walks our students through that whole process. However, if you need a link for Point, it is also on our counseling webpage, and you can use the link that I provided earlier in the meeting. And then I wanted to go a little bit further into Point University so that you're aware of how that registration process works. Their classes are held at Woodville. The students in Point, how I'm doing it this year is you're going to email me when you have completed the Google form. And I have included the link for the students to complete the Google form. So when I post the PowerPoint, your student can just click on the link, fill out the Google form, and then just send me a quick email and say, Ms. Nobles, I've completed the Google form for Point. Point students are registered for fall and spring terms. And a virtual session will be scheduled for Point personnel to assist students with the application process. Again, you'll see the SAT scores that are required and the ACT score, and then the GPA, and then of a 3.0. And then the online funding application and parent agreement are also completed on Georgia Futures, just as you would with the other institutions. So students who qualify to take classes with Point as juniors, they're going to receive up to 12 credits. That means the way that Point is set up, the students take 2 dual enrollment classes first semester, and then they take 2 dual enrollment classes second semester. And that's how they get the 12 credit hours in the year. So typically those classes are going to be first block. And so they may take, let's give, for instance, your student may take an English 101, and then a psychology first semester, and then they may do an English 102 and a sociology next semester. That's just an example of how point classes are set up. Those classes are Monday through Thursday. They do not have classes on Friday. So as a new senior who is going to start point this year, those students do take 4 classes. So that means those students with point, because it's a cohort that starts in their junior year, if they did not start point classes in their junior year, then they will have 4 classes this upcoming year. So they would take 4 dual enrollment classes in first semester and 4 dual enrollment classes in second semester, which will give them a total of 24 credits that they can receive by year's end. So that's a fresh, a new senior never participated in dual enrollment at point. So that is how the new senior schedule would look. So if your student is taking 4 classes with point, and I kind of when I spoke about it earlier in the meeting, so that would indicate that they have they're going to be full time because they're taking 4 classes. After they finish first and second block, then they're able to leave for the day. They don't have to take any additional classes. So the new senior, first block is going to be 2 classes. Second block is going to be 2 classes. And they're going to rotate Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday. So that's just what just keep that in mind. If your child decides to leave after second block, they're able to leave. However, if they do decide to stay at Woodville, they will have to have classes for third and fourth block. So your student could potentially have 6 classes if they do not leave after second block, because they have to be on a roster if they're on our campus. So the returning seniors are going to be those students that started in their junior year. And they're going to also be able to receive 24 credits between their junior and senior year. And so they would also take 2 classes in first block, and then 2 classes first block second semester. So that is kind of how point works. I know it can be a little bit confusing how they do things. So if you need to meet with me, or you need to have a virtual conversation, or shoot me an email, please do so I can explain it a little bit further, and you can get an understanding of it. So I did put on the bottom that the professors come to campus, and the classes are typically first block only for juniors, but for those returning seniors and those new seniors, it's going to be first and second block. I'm sorry, returning seniors is first block, and then the new seniors, they will have classes first and second block, because they have 4 classes that they would be taking that semester. So this is some answers to frequently asked questions. So when is my deadline? My deadline is going to be May 1st. So today is February 15th. I think there's plenty of time to get all of this stuff completed. You have to you must complete the application with the institution you want to attend. You have to complete the dual enrollment funding application. You have to submit a transcript, and you have to have the required scores submitted to the institution by this date. So I know that there's going to be plenty of opportunity for you to schedule an SAT, because there's one coming up in March. And then luckily, Dr. Miller is going to be offering SAT school day in April for juniors. So you rising juniors or rising seniors, you'll be able to take that SAT with that on that SAT school day, which is April. I can't remember the exact date, but I'll send it out, or I have Dr. Miller send it out again. So you'll be aware of the exact date. But you have plenty of opportunity to take, the test and get a score in order to submit with your application so that you can meet that May 1st deadline. So just keep in mind, I am flexible if there is a good reason, but if you just wait to the last minute and don't do, and you haven't completed something, then you're probably going to be waiting until next year to participate in dual enrollment. So again, it's February 15th, and my deadline is May 1st. So the course is transferred to most other colleges. So again, make sure when you're registering or when we begin to register you, that if you want to know more about if the college that you plan on attending after high school is going to accept your credit or your classes that you're planning on registering for, that you do your due diligence and start to reach out to those schools and say, I'm attending this particular college where these classes transfer. And so that part is going to be on you to do a little leg work on that end. Sometimes students pass the class with a D or receive an F on their college transcript. Most colleges require students to pass their course with a C or better. So some students may receive a D for an English class. Just keep in mind when you get to college, after you graduate, you are going to more than likely have to take that course over. So just do your best not to receive a D or an F. That is not anything. That is not what you're going into dual enrollment for. And so we do anticipate that you're going to do well, and we hope that that is your anticipation as well. Dual enrollment classes count as an academic pathway. So, for instance, if you take more than 3 dual enrollment classes, then, or you take 3 or more rather, then it will count as an academic pathway for you. So a typical college schedule, some students may have to take classes on Fridays, not many. Usually a class would meet on Mondays and Wednesdays or Tuesdays and Thursdays. So your student will have a lot of time to study, to get organized, to do all those things that are going to make them successful. A lot of times they won't even have classes on Friday. So that's a good opportunity for them to organize themselves, to study a lot of things. I know a lot of our students are working, but when you are going to participate in dual enrollment, you do have to prioritize so that you can be successful. And again, if a student doesn't have transportation, I did want to put that in again. They can choose to take the class online. However, if they take the class online, whatever block the schedule for that class in Power School, they are expected not to be on our campus. So these are some high school and college reminders. When you participate in dual enrollment, you are no longer simply a high school student, you're a college student. So a lot of times different things are going on with your class at the high school. They may be going on a field trip. Well, that may be something you can't attend because you're slated to go to your college class, or you're scheduled to go to your college class. So you do have to keep those things in mind, because if you, let's say, you decide to go on to that field trip or whatever with your high school class, then that's going to be a missed day. That's going to count towards your attendance and on the college level. So you do a lot of times have to request approval from your college professor if something like that is going on, rather than just choose to take a day off. So do keep that in mind when you are looking or when those activities pop up, that you do want to make sure you're talking with your college professor to make sure that either you're going to be able to make up something that day, or you have their approval to miss class that day. So you want to make sure you're reading your syllabus, and just like we advise you to do at the high school, you got to read through that syllabus and learn the attendance policy. Each institution will have their own policy as it relates to attendance. For example, Point University will drop a student after 6 absences. So if you're missing a lot of days, or if it's been your habit to miss a lot of days because, for just various reasons, you want to know this policy. You shouldn't be missing any days, especially if you're thinking about participating in dual enrollment. But sometimes things arise and you do have to miss a day or two or whatever. So it is very important that you know the policy as regards to attendance, so that you're not missing days and all of a sudden you get something that says you've been dropped from the course. Again, dual enrollment is free. If you complete that dual enrollment funding application and your parent completes the parent participation agreement, it's a dual thing that you have to do the dual enrollment funding application and you have to send them the parent participation agreement by inputting their email address in that application. Um, However, there may be fees associated with some dual enrollment courses. For example, you must pay fees for science labs, and those fees are typically $75. So if you decide to take a science class, just be knowledgeable that you may have to pay a $75 fee, and that is not covered by dual enrollment. Also, if you miss or you also if you lose a college book, you're going to be responsible for that. And some colleges, if you don't pay those fees, they are not going to release your transcript when you get ready to move on. So definitely make sure you don't have any outstanding fees, and you make sure you take care of all of those type of things, parking tickets, all of that type of stuff, if you get any, and hopefully that won't happen. So, and this is just, I wanted a specific slide to just kind of talk about what happens if you fail a dual enrollment course. So your Hope GPA is going to be negatively impacted. And while we talk a lot about Hope GPA, our goal is really for you guys to get that Zell Miller scholarship. And that the Zell Miller means that you have to have a 3.7 GPA or higher, and a 1200 on the SAT, or a 26 on the ACT. Well, if you're not doing well, you decide to do dual enrollment and you don't do well in the classes, it's going to be very difficult for you to maintain that 3.7 or for you to achieve that 3.7 or higher. So your whole GPA will be negatively impacted if you do not pass a course. So for instance, a lot of times for classes like college algebra or higher level math courses, or some of the more difficult courses, I may say that may be a course you want to wait and take, after, you graduate, because you don't want it to impact and prevent you from achieving that Hope GPA or that Zell Miller. If you are strong in those areas and you feel like that is something that you would be successful in, definitely talk it over talk it over with your parents, and then move forward if you think you're going to be successful. However, just be thoughtful that if you don't do well, it is going to impact you in both the high school and the college, because you have already began your your college transcript. So when a student withdraws from a course beyond the drop add date, and that's typically the first 3 days of a semester, of a college semester, he or she will receive a W on their college transcript. But on their high school transcript, the student will receive a 65. So, and I'm sorry, I should clarify. If the student drops the class within the first 3 days, we don't receive anything for that particular class because they've dropped within the drop add period. However, if they drop after after the drop add period, then we will receive a W when we receive grades from the college. And while that doesn't harm them on the college side, it does negatively impact them on the high school side, because we do not have an equivalent for a W. So that is a 65 on their transcript. So there's nothing we can do about that. We can't change it or anything. So that is why we always emphasize students must talk to us before they drop classes, because we have had students that, were Zell Miller eligible or Hope eligible, and they dropped the class. They got their 65 on the high school transcript, and it knocked them out of eligibility. So this is something that you really need to be aware of, especially at the end, or be talking with your student about how you do it in the class. What do you think about the class? If you're going to drop the class or whatever, it needs to be done early. We don't want anything to negatively impact them. We cannot add a W on the high school transcript, only grades of A through F. So it is imperative that you are aware of deadlines for completing this process. So contact your institution that you're going to be attending at the beginning of each semester for this information. And again, we get a lot of emails sometimes about dropping. Do not drop a class or add without discussing with your school counselor first. So it could be that you could be past the drop add period and you'll be penalized. It could affect your funding, because if you didn't tell us, then you've been taking a class that's not on your funding application, and then you may receive a bill. And then if you're withdrawing, the W, even though it doesn't harm you grade wise, the W does count towards your satisfactory academic progress. So if you're starting classes and dropping, and it is going to result in you being on academic suspension or probation. So that is why it is so vital that you speak with us before you do anything in regards to withdrawing from a class. And so I did want to speak to our students that have an IEP or a 504. So you got to voluntarily disclose the information to the college. We are aware that you have an IEP or 504, but if you don't make the college aware, when you get ready to test or do different things for the class, they may not afford you the same accommodations, that type of thing. Now, the college, when you go to the college level, accommodations may look a little bit different than they do at a high school, but that is why it's very important that you speak with somebody contact somebody in the Office of Disability Services or Student Affairs. So you got to advocate for yourself. And so make sure that if you do have an IEP or a 504, that you are making this known to the college so that you can get all the resources that you need to be successful in the classes that you register for. And so this slide here is just, again, ask yourself those serious questions when you're looking at participating. Am I ready for the responsibility? Do I have reliable transportation? Because I hear this a lot. My friend is going to take me. But what if something happens with your friend's vehicle, or they're no longer able to take you, or you're no longer friends? So then what happens to their transportation? Am I willing to attend class every day? Do you understand the implications of failing a course? So go back through this meeting today and make sure that you are asking yourself those questions. And if you don't see the answer, or you have a question, please email me. And ask yourself, why do you really want to participate in dual enrollment? Don't participate in dual enrollment because your friend is doing it, or you think it's the thing to do, because you may not be ready at that time. So make sure that this is something that's right for you. Am I willing to establish and maintain a relationship with my professors? So when y'all have issues that arise, the first thing we're going to tell you to do is contact your professor, because that is the person that is going to be best, able to resolve the issue if possible for you. Do your research on your colleges in terms of determining which college you want to attend, what is going to be the best fit for you. Definitely do not rely on your parent to do all this stuff. I know parents, because we want our kids to do well, but if you see that the motivation is not there for dual enrollment right now, and you're having to push and pull and do most of the application process and things of that nature, then that's likely what's going to happen in the class when the student is registered. However, you're not going to be able to do the work for them at that point. So if your student is heavily relying on you to get a lot of this stuff done, then you really got to ask yourself, are they ready? Um, and then can I get through the application process? It's not a difficult process. However, you do have to read. And so that's like what we talked about earlier. That is one indicator. Are you willing to read through things and really problem solve? So I don't want you to feel like you can't email me, but I do want you to have read, at least read and say, well, I read through it, but I still don't understand it. And then, of course, what will I do if I am filling a course and it is past add drop period? And then we will talk with you through that as well. So this is just some serious questions to ask before pursuing dual enrollment. And so we have come to the end of this presentation. I do want to share the slide with you. You'll find Mr. McGuire's information up there as well as Dr. Nelson. Myself, I am not only the dual enrollment coordinator, but I have 9th and 12th grade this year. But you can email me again at anita.nobles@sccpss.com. You're going to find Dr. Miller's email address at jamel.miller@sccpss.com. And then you're going to also find Miss Moore, who's our counselor clerk, and can help you with transcripts, as well as Miss Brooks, our information specialist. And so I wanted to make sure you had all of those contacts in case you find yourself with questions. If they can't answer a question for you, they'll direct you to Dr. Miller or myself. So I want to thank all of you for attending tonight. And again, if you missed something or have any questions, you can post them in the chat and I'll try to answer, as many questions as I can. And then the video will be up for you to go through after we post it. So I do see one from, it looks like Tanika. It says, Owens, it says, if my student or summer of next year, does she apply now? Is this possible? So if she's going to be looking at participating for the spring or summer of next year, we're not going to go ahead and have her apply now, because typically if there's more than 1 or 2 semesters between when the student actually attends, then they're going to require that she do the application again anyway. So when we get to fall semester and we have the dual enrollment meeting at that time, that is when we would give her the information about applying for the spring or summer of next year, of the 2023 year. So I don't see any other questions. So I hope that means I have done an excellent job today with Mr. McGuire's assistance.
Awesome job, Ms. Noble.
So definitely, if you need anything, please email me. I am available to meet with you because, like I said, this is a serious endeavor, and I want to make sure that I'm accessible if you have any concerns about this process. Mr. McGuire, do you have anything you want to share before we sign off here?
No, I just again thank everyone for joining and participating in this. A lot of valuable information that we have for everyone this evening. If you have any questions, please feel free to get in contact with us and let us know. We definitely want to help you, our students and parents throughout this process.
All right. Thank you all. Have a great evening.